Hey, welcome back. You know, sometimes the answer isn't hidden in a locked box or a coded diary. Sometimes it's been right there, in plain sight, for centuries. We just stopped looking at it the right way. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is the Unexplained Archive. Today, we're tackling one of the oldest and most tantalizing mysteries in American history, the lost colony of Roanoke. And we're doing it with a piece of evidence that's been quietly waiting in a British library since the 1580s. A map. So picture this. It's 1587. A group of about 115 English men, women, and children, led by a man named John White, land on Roanoke Island, off the coast of what is now North Carolina. They're there to establish a permanent foothold for England in the New World. Just a few months later, supplies run dangerously low, and Governor White is forced to sail back to England. War with Spain delays his return. When he finally makes it back to Roanoke in 1590, the settlement is empty, completely deserted. No signs of struggle, no graves. Just the word Croatoan carved into a post and CRO carved into a tree. The entire colony had vanished into the wilderness. For over 400 years, that's where the story has essentially frozen. A perfect, eerie historical ghost story. Did they integrate with a local tribe? Were they wiped out by disease or conflict? The theories are endless. But in 2012, researchers at the British Museum were examining a map drawn by John White himself, a map of the North Carolina coast. And they noticed something odd. Under a patch of paper that had been glued to the map centuries ago, there were faint markings. Using modern imaging techniques, they peeled back that patch, figuratively speaking, and revealed a secret. A hidden symbol, a tiny, precise, red and blue fort shape, drawn not on Roanoke Island, but about 50 miles inland, at the confluence of two rivers. This changes everything. This wasn't just a map of the coast. It was, potentially, a destination. The symbol is a common Elizabethan cartographic mark for a fort or a settlement, and its location, inland along the Albemarle Sound, aligns perfectly with areas later described by explorers as having fair-skinned, English-speaking natives living in villages with European-style structures. The map suggests that the plan, perhaps from the very beginning, was not to stay on that vulnerable island. They intended to move inland, to a more defensible, resource-rich location. And John White knew exactly where that was. So let's follow that map. If this was the plan, and if the colonists executed it, what happened next? The prevailing theory now, bolstered by archaeological fragments and oral histories from local tribes like the Lumbee and the Croatoan, is assimilation. Not a dramatic disappearance, but a slow, deliberate blending. Facing starvation and isolation on Roanoke, they likely split into smaller groups and sought alliance with the indigenous people they had previously and faithfully tried to befriend. The carvings Croatoan weren't a distress signal or a warning. They were a forwarding address. A message left for White, telling him exactly where they had gone, to Croatoan, the home of the Croatoan people, or toward that inland location marked on his own secret map. The archaeological record, while sparse, offers whispers. A 16th-century English signet ring found near the inland fort site. European-style pottery fragments mixed with indigenous artifacts in specific areas. And then there are the accounts from later English settlers at Jamestown, decades later. They reported meeting native chiefs who claimed descent from the English, who spoke some English, and who lived in towns with European-style buildings. One leader even told the Jamestown colonists that his ancestors could speak out of a book, a haunting reference to literacy. This is where the mystery transforms from a what happened to a who are we. The story of America has always been one of migration, conflict, and blending. The lost colony may represent one of the earliest and most profound examples of that. They didn't vanish. They changed. They became part of a new world in the most fundamental way possible, through family, through culture, through survival. For me, Ibnul, an engineer and a storyteller who left one home to build another, this resolution has a particular resonance. We often think of history as a series of fixed points, of clear arrivals and departures. But the human experience is rarely so neat. The Roanoke colonists didn't have a clear ending. They had a transformation. They traded their English identity for a chance at a future, weaving their thread into a tapestry they could never have imagined back in London. As an immigrant, I understand that drive to adapt, to find a new place in a new land, even if it means the person who left the old country is not quite the same person who builds a life in the new one. Their mystery isn't about a failure to endure. It's about the incredible, messy, human capacity to endure by becoming something else. So, was the lost colony of Roanoke solved by a hidden map? I think the map gave us the first real, tangible clue to their intent. It shifted the question from where did they go to why did they go there? And the answer to that is written not in ink on parchment, but in the genetic and cultural legacy that may still exist today. The mystery of Roanoke endures not because there's no answer, but because the answer is so deeply, beautifully human. They didn't disappear. They simply stopped being a colony and started being neighbors, families, and ancestors in a land that was new to them. Thank you for listening to this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please share this episode with a fellow mystery lover. For more stories that explore the hidden corners of history, subscribe to the Unexplained Archive wherever you get your podcasts. This is Ibnul J. Farabi for Light Not Studios. Until next time, keep wondering.